What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of Not A24, the podcast that takes a look at movies outside of the A24 library, literally 24 minutes at a time. Wow, Ben, that takes me 10 seconds. I've never clocked that before. That's 10 seconds of our 24 minutes just to intro this pod. And this episode is making me nervous. So, we're doing the creator. I'm Ethan Simi. What's up?
I'm Ben Lawhorn. It's been a while since we've gone over 24 minutes, but that might change right now. So we're gonna see.
We will see.
This week on the pod, we are joining the war between humans and AI robots as we talk about the latest film from Gareth Edwards, The Creator.
Against the backdrop of a war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child. Ben, this is it. This is what we've been working towards for 6 weeks now. Yeah. We've been covering AI movies and movies that are influences to the creator as specified by Gareth Edwards himself. This is our final entry into this AI saga. How do you feel that we've made it here? We've trekked this long journey to get to the creator.
I feel good about it. I feel like all the movies that we watched, I could see a little bit of every one of them in the creator, which was a good call. The question is how many of those movies were better than the creator. That's what we're going to get into, I think.
Yes.
But definitely plenty of influences to be found in this movie, without a doubt.
100%. Yeah, that's the question. Don't forget, we'll circle back to that question at the very end here if we have time. So this is definitely the newest movie that we have covered here on the Patreon. It went live nationwide in IMAX theaters September 29th. This was like a big play, big marketing spend to take IMAX screens for this weekend. And to have an original sci-fi movie, which harder to find than you think. $80 million production budget, very quite scarce, honestly. It's not, I guess, quote unquote big budget, but like 80 million, not that much for an original sci-fi world. And starring John David Washington, who, I don't know, I feel like, can we talk about him for a second? Because I'm really in on Tenet. I think Tenet's great. You're out on Tenet. You don't like it necessarily as much as I do. Here's the question, because we're time limited here. Can John David Washington, after we've seen The Creator, and of course we're going to talk about our thoughts, can he lead a movie? Can he lead a blockbuster film?
I don't know. I think he's done a serviceable job in all the movies where he's been the lead. Like BlacKkKlansman is great. Like he's great in it, you know. I don't think his performance in Tenet has anything to do with my feelings on it, you know. Like, sure, I think he's fine in it. I think he's just like he might be one of the better parts of it, but to be a leading man in a blockbuster, I mean, I don't know, like Denzel didn't lead any blockbusters, you know what I mean? Right. Like, not to compare him to his dad, which I'm sure he's got his whole life, but it's just like maybe that's not the life he's cut out for, you know. Maybe that's not the kind of stuff he needs to be doing. Maybe he needs to stick with those smaller films like the BlacKkKlansman, the stuff where he can really shine and not have so much of the movie's weight on his shoulders. I don't know. I want the best for him. I think he's great. Like, I really like him, and I want him to succeed for sure.
This is tough because his last 4 movies, all from 2020. So Tenet, obviously a massive box office bomb, released in the middle, if not the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Malcolm and Marie, a Netflix movie that was pretty well hyped up, was adapted from a stage play by Sam Levinson.
Yeah, your boy Sam Levinson, right? You're a big fan.
Huge fan, just the best. Let him rule Hollywood. Yep. Absolute dog shit movie, so bad. I wanted to like it so bad, and I know this is not a Malcolm and Marie pod, but sometime it was not good. Beckett, a movie that, again, a lot of hype behind it in 2021. This was not good. This was like an action. He was like the sole action star of this. Of course, Amsterdam, again, a huge box office flop, and now we've got The Creator. It doesn't sound, like you said, it doesn't sound like he's picking the right projects. Like, it just doesn't sound like he is gelling with what he wants to become or what he wants to be, which is a sole box office star.
Yeah.
I don't think that The Creator has helped his case either. The opening weekend, I don't have the exact numbers on me, but I know I read it like a million times. The creator, I think, got somewhere around $16 million opening weekend. Saw X made $18 million. That's not good for that's just not good for the creator. Okay, so this is Gareth Edwards' first movie in 4 years. He made Rogue One in 2019. Pro Rogue One?
Super pro. Top 3 Star Wars.
Absolutely agree. Love to hear it. Rogue One is definitely in the top 3 along with The Last Jedi. So this movie is really beautiful. This is a very pretty movie. This is very nice to look at. It looks great on an IMAX screen. I think the AI robots look pretty good, honestly, for their budget.
Fantastic.
Really interesting workflow method. Some behind the scenes snippets are out there about how they did these and pretty much did everything practical until the very last step when they had to do VFX for things. So that's my positive. Do you have any positives to share about the movie?
I mean, everything that you said, you know, like I was entertained visually, to say the least. Like I was really kind of blown away by it. I kept thinking though the whole time, it was kind of taking me out of it. I feel like an old person with this phrase, but are you familiar with the meme of the tweet where the guy's like, guy who has only seen the Boss Baby watching his second movie, getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes from this.
A lot of Boss Baby vibes.
The entire time I was watching this movie, I was like, getting a lot of Rogue One vibes from this. Getting a lot of Rogue One vibes. Like I kept thinking about that the whole time. It was like guy who has only seen Rogue One watching the creator. Like, oh, getting a lot of Rogue One vibes from this. But it's like, yeah, man, like this is crazy. Like
you're not wrong at all.
Yeah, it's like the grown-up version, I guess, as far as like the violence and I think the spectacle and stuff, which is crazy to say about a Star Wars movie, but I just feel like Gareth Edwards maybe got to do a little bit more of what he wanted to do in Rogue One in this movie. So not a complaint at all, but just an observation. Like if you've seen Rogue One and you enjoyed the visuals of it, like there's no reason you shouldn't watch this because like they're very close. Very close for sure. I think it's an interesting thing. Excuse me, sorry. Rogue One came out in 2016, so that is that right? Rogue One, a Star Wars story? Yeah, that's a long time ago. So the interesting thing that I will say about the Rogue One comparisons, and you're totally spot on, is Rogue One, from what I know, had some production issues. I think Gareth Edwards was like given the permission, like, here, make a Star Wars movie. They didn't have a script. They didn't know what was going on. And Tony Gilroy basically had to come in and like scrap together what they could story-wise. Yeah. Which is an interesting thing to think about, because if Tony Gilroy had initially said, here's a Star Wars movie, hey Gareth, I want you to visualize this, I think you'd be talking about the best Star Wars movie in the last decade. I think there's like no question about that. I think what the creator ended up doing was kind of similar to Rogue One, where it was like Gareth Edwards had this vision for what he wanted this world to look like in 2065 for the creator, but he didn't have a Tony Gilroy. I think he and one other person wrote the creator, which leads me to my point of this movie's not good. I did not enjoy this movie. I didn't think it was very good. I don't think the script is good at all, to be honest. I think there's a lot of really poor moments, a lot of really such telegraphed massive reveals or like emotional pivots that are just don't work at all in this world. And to what you said about like it feeling kind of like, you know, Rogue One vibes and like mashed up with some other stuff, I just could not shake the feeling. I was like, okay, this is Rogue One, this is District 9, and this is Minority Report. It's all put together. Like that is what I felt, and I was just like, cool, we've done all of this before. Like what is new about this? I mean, it looks good, but like I know the kid's the savior. That's the whole point. Like you play it like it's some massive reveal at the end where it's like the kid had to be the savior the whole time, and like you were so close. Like I know it. I've been watching it for 2 hours. I got it. So I think the script really failed this movie. Did you feel similar, or did you have a better time? I think I had a better time, but making the Tony Gilroy, you know, kind of comparison or whatever, Tony Gilroy of Michael Clayton fame, for everyone listening.
Of
Go watch
course.
Michael Clayton.
Incredible.
But also of Andor fame, which is,
Yeah.
I think, an interesting comparison here because
Mm.
I think if Andor had been a movie, it might have turned out like the creator, where it was just like, this
Mm.
needed more time. And I think it's what the creator needed. Like, I'm a big proponent of just movies being movies. Like, they should just exist that way. But I feel like this one would be a great series.
Yeah.
Like, give me 8 episodes of the creator, like build some of this tension, let me build these relationships a little bit more. Because, you know, obviously this is all a spoiler episode, all that kind of stuff, but it's just like, oh no, actually, like your wife was the one that created AI. So
Yeah.
anyways, moving on, you know, it's like it just like
right?
really quickly is like, oh,
So fast.
that happened so fast. Like, we didn't sit with this at all. And it's like, oh yeah, this like little kid you've been saving was like, there's some of your DNA or whatever in there. Like, so
Mhm.
it's like kind of your kid, you know, even though it's just all this stuff. It's like, man, but we're really just like skipping around between this. And then all of a
Yep.
sudden we have these like big ass tanks that are like rolling over Vietnam and Cambodia. And it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, what are we focusing on right now? So that's where I felt like I'm never really a proponent for a longer movie. Be like, I feel like most of the time it needs to be trimmed down,
Yeah.
but this either needed to be like a little bit longer or a series. I think it could have been a really great series where we like lived in this world a little bit more.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's why it is so painstakingly rare we get an original sci-fi movie. It's just hard to do. It's near impossible to do. Like, I mean, you know, we covered Blade Runner on this Patreon. Like, Blade Runner, that's like a 1 in a million, right? Like, creating a brand new world in such a short amount of time where you feel engrossed in it, it just doesn't happen. It's just really difficult to do. So I agree with you. I think like time was a huge factor here. We had such an expansive, beautiful, gorgeous world that like we wanted to spend time in that world, but we were not given that time. We just had to like move on from one thing to the next. I thought the plot mechanics itself of like twisting essentially what was like the core premise of the movie, which was like save the kid, to like I want to find my wife, like in the first 35 minutes. I thought that was a very poor decision. I did not like that. I think it really like splayed the movie wide open in terms of like everybody has a different objective now, and like what are we focused on and what are we trying to do, and like why are we doing the things that we're doing. I think there was a lot, and like I guess I personally feel like this was supposed to be the movie. Like, this was supposed to be like, original sci-fi's back. We did it. We hit the box office. Everybody won, and this was such a great movie on an IMAX screen. And like, it did not translate that way at all. I think the reviews are pretty mixed. I do think there are a lot of people that did enjoy it or like it or even love it. But I think equally as much people didn't like it. And like, the biggest issue I have is like, what are we saying? I feel like there were so many opportunities to speak so wisely about like AI and the future and like what the American military complex is like, and like all of these really big themes and ideas, especially considering John David Washington's character is like partly made out of robot parts, and like we see that like 2 times, and that's literally it. And it's like, that could have been a massive storyline that connected everything together, and it worked, and like that would have been the glue. And I just didn't feel like that was necessarily played as that role. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really bummed out. I wanted this to be the movie, and it just didn't work to be the movie for me.
Definitely felt the influence though of all the stuff that we watched.
Yep.
This was like Lone Wolf and Cub. You could just kind of see all over it. Obviously, Blade Runner and Akira, like Gareth had mentioned, like saw all that kind of stuff. But I'm with you where I just feel like there was too many storylines for this runtime. I guess, you know, it's just like ditch the wife stuff or something. You know what I mean? Like something's got to happen, but it's just like, I understand that's how they got him back in. That's like the wife is alive, but I don't know. I feel like there could have been some other mechanic to make him, you know, take care of this kid.
I mean, you cast Gemma Chan as the wife, and she gets like 6 minutes of screen time. I think it's terrible. Bad decision. Okay, Ben, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to go over the time limit here, and we haven't
had hot sauce in a while.
I know, and I don't want it. I've gotten accustomed to just living the sweet life here on the pod. My true cinema moments are very sparse, to be quite honest with you. I didn't hate this movie. I still gave it like 3.5 stars on Letterboxd because it is visually appealing. It is something that I want to look at, but it just failed in so many other areas. Number one for me, anytime the Nomad, which was like the big robot thing in the sky, anytime that scanned the Earth, I was like, that's sick.
Yeah.
That looks good. That's really cool. And that's a great visualization of like just having an overpowered AI robot in the sky that is hunting AIs that are like turning on the race. So I thought that was a very cool part of the movie.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that was very well done. Again, like some nods to Rogue One and their little thing that allows you to enter the planet, you know, it's like it looked kind of similar, but yeah, I thought that was cool. My first one was an unexpected face was fucking Allison Janney showing up with this little blonde like pixie cut thing. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like that's Allison Janney? Like I didn't know she was in this at all. And it's kind of cool. They just let her be this military badass and she did a great job. And I was just like, oh, I had no idea she was going to be here.
And you know what else that like reminded me of? Like we get a couple of tank scenes with her and like her just like commanding the army. I was like, this is ripped from Avatar. Like this is 100% exactly what they do in Avatar, where it's like, we're on this planet now, we got to find these people.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I know. Like I got it. So that was interesting. Number two for me, it is confirmed through this film, which is set in 2065, that white Air Force Ones will be readily available and continually produced because John David Washington pops out of a I don't know, hole in the ground, whatever, like in a ladder, and he steps out and it's just like a fucking crisp shot of like a pair of AF-1s, and I was like, that's sick. Like, cool, AF-1s are here. I think that also speaks to like how disinterested I became in the film, where I was just like, oh, cool, he's wearing AF-1s. Like, that's a huge win for the movie. So yeah, that was cool, I guess.
Good to know those exist, you know, in 40 years, we'll still be able to wear those. That's fun. Honestly, like my next one, again, like it's less of a moment and more just throughout the movie, I was blown away at how fluid all the robots are. Like they look so good. They look like they have these human characteristics, you know, and I just thought that was so well done because I mean, obviously there's the actual humans which have like the little or the human looking robots that have that little thing behind their head, but like the actual robots that are in here like still have personality and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. To the point that like one of my favorite scenes in this is the suicidal robot who is like going on like a kamikaze mission. And it's like, I don't need to gender it. It's he, but you know, like whatever. He just like turns though. It's like, it's been an honor, you know, and almost like delays himself. It's like, oh, it's like, does he have some sort of sentience where he's just like, oh, I don't want to die. Like I'll say goodbye to these people first. It's like, man, you're a robot, man. Like get out of here. But then just watching it do this fucking football 40-yard dash down this bridge and like, whoa, that's
insane.
Crazy. Like I can't imagine sitting there watching this thing run at you. Like, what do? You know what I mean? Like they're shooting at it, can't stop it. Just like, okay, this thing's coming right at us. So I loved all of the robots. I loved all the AI. And that specifically was a moment I enjoyed.
Yeah, so you just unlocked a lot of thoughts. First off, that is my third true cinema moment. I was literally gonna say the robot bombs that like didn't want to go. He was like he like wouldn't go, and they're like, go, like get out of the tank, go. And I thought that was really compelling. Like again, like give me a series, like give me an episode about like sentient robots and like how we got here. I think that's fascinating and really interesting. The Big Picture did an episode on The Creator. I haven't finished listening to it, but from what I did hear, Chris Ryan mentioned something similar to you, where it was like there was one moment where a robot with no face, right? It was a true robot, is on a boat and basically is like resting like outside of the boat, and its like arm is kind of like skimming the water. A very human interaction with the boat and like going off to war in a battle and these types of things. And like those little key moments I thought did work really well, where it was like, wow, this is a fully fleshed out world where like there is so much behind each robot and each thing. I think more broadly, I could say like that battle that takes place kind of on that bridge, where we do get Alfie, that like is the kid who, you know, stops the robot. I thought that looked gorgeous. It worked really well. But again, like I think just like storyline wise, it kind of just like is super disconnected and really kind of goes off the rails. So yeah, that's kind of my shouts for the movie. I think like I personally was really disappointed. I was really hoping it would be a lot more. And I think I think Klein felt on Twitter I was interacting with about the creator, and it raises an interesting question of like, can we get Gareth Edwards to direct a movie, and then can we get someone else to write a script? And like I think this is like kind of could be classified as like, right, the Damien Chazelle problem is like he'll have a masterpiece once he finds someone else to write a script so he can focus on the visuals, or like a similar director situation where they want to do the whole package and it might just be better to offload the script to a Tony Gilroy or someone that understands that world better than they do. I think that could be magic, but are we ever going to get that, especially with how this did at the box office? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not in this lifetime.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we will, but I agree with all that. I kind of feel the same about Zack Snyder. It's like he's a decent director, just like stop letting him write stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But, so
I think it could be really interesting too with Alex Garland, like stylistically very engaging.
Yeah.
We get it that your movie is called Men. We got it. Maybe find someone else to write this.
Yeah, you hit it home. Not everyone has to be an auteur. Not everyone has to do both. You know, it's
right.
Take a note from Scorsese. It's like you can do someone else's
you just
work.
Offload that script, baby.
My last true cinema moment really is just the practical sets and the locations. Watched something, I think it may have been through Letterboxd or something with Gareth Edwards, and talked about filming on location, and just that they kind of were quoted something around like I don't know, however many $1 million for the VFX and green screen and all that. And he's like, but then we realized like with a small enough crew, we could just fly around the world and go get these places. So it's like, if you have a 4-man crew, then you can go do this for the same price. So why wouldn't you get it practically? And that just, that holds a lot of weight for me as far as like just appreciating what they were able to accomplish.
Yeah. Would this fit in the A24 catalog? I would come in with a hot take and say yes. I think an original sci-fi world would. Again, the script would not. It is not punchy enough. It is not stark enough. It doesn't contain enough kind of grasping ideas and themes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it would too. I'd be curious, you know, even if they dropped it down to 50, you know, like that seems maybe like on the high end of an A24 budget, but like if you give someone that kind of money, what could they do with it? But yeah, I think this would fit under there, at least tonally, like this works. Yeah, I think tonally as well. Okay, next week on the Patreon pod, we are moving on to the new series, the new chapter. It's Fincher time, baby. It is. God, I'm so excited. We're going to be covering 6 weeks of David Fincher, culminating in the release of his newest film, The Killer. And of course, to kick it off, immensely underrated. I don't know, little preview. We're going to be talking about The Game. Ben, are you excited to talk Fincher? I can't wait. This is going to be so fun. Talk about a guy that just has a bunch of home runs. You know what I mean? Like his movies are great. And I'm super excited to talk about The Game. I love that movie. One of the few that was a suggestion by my dad that I actually liked. I was like, all right, cool. You were right. This is good. So yeah, gotta win. The Game. Love The Game. So join us next week for Fincher. Let us know what you thought this week about the creator. We're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. You can also watch us on YouTube. And yeah, thanks so much for being a patron. We really appreciate all the support you guys give us. It means the world to us. And yeah, look forward to talking to you guys next week about Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. I am Ben Lawhorn. And I am Ethan Simi. Find someone else to write your script. It's not that bad of an idea. It's true. It's true. We did it. We fucking did it. On the dot. Thank God.